Hi everybody. This video is going to be about day 4 of the contingency plans, which is the article, Is Summer Vacation Bad for You? This is an expository piece. As you can see, I labeled that at the top, meaning that it gives both sides of the issue. It doesn't give, it's not persuasive. The author is not trying to convince you one way or the other about summer vacation and its value. The author is just trying to give you both sides of the argument, and then you have to determine where you stand on the issue. So what I decided to do, I think it was a good color coding tool was, and you'll see that I have a little key at the top of my page here. Any argument that says yes, summer vacation is bad for students, I highlighted in orange. And then any argument that says no, summer vacation is valuable and it's not bad, I highlighted in yellow. So the reason for that was, if you just take a look at my document, and it's up on my website so you can access it there, you can see that the color coding really helps, because when I have to go back and identify the arguments, it's pretty easy to do that. So just to go through a couple of the arguments here, really in the beginning, the author starts with just presenting the issue, and the author engages you by asking you, pretty much a rhetorical question and giving you options. How would you like to spend your summer? Before launching into a listing of all of the reasons why summer vacation is actually very bad for students. And the first paragraph, I highlighted a couple of details, and I just wrote myself a note in the margin. This is probably the biggest argument against summer vacation, which is that US students are falling behind. And because of that extended time off, which is about 8 weeks, students are losing a lot of the knowledge that they had in June. And so when they come back, teachers are having to spend an enormous amount of time reviewing information just to catch them up to where they were when they left the school in June. It also proposes, it gives you models of other schools and how in other countries and how they run their school system. And so it's, in a lot of places, the way that they have it is that you do get a summer vacation. It's just not as long. So you get 5 weeks of summer, and I highlighted that. So you still get a break. It's just shorter. And then the rest of the breaks are interspersed throughout the year. So you would get a 3-week break at various points throughout the year. Another argument is the less time spent on review. I kind of covered that. It kind of goes in with paragraph number 1 there. But the burnout factor, that it gives students time to kind of recharge if you give them breaks every few weeks. And I think we can all, feel that way when you've had a really long stretch of time. Everyone is just exhausted and waiting for the next vacation, because school is an intense occurrence, and it is exhausting and it is tiring. And so an argument for a different method of organizing the school system, the school year, would be to give students more frequent breaks to avoid that burnout. The last paragraph, or the second to last paragraph there, talks about the intersession classes that can be offered when there is, when there's more frequent breaks. And it talks about how students can use those intersession classes, which are actually popular, to get extra help. So, the way that we have our school year structured now, you get various breaks throughout the year, but they're never more than a week. And then we have that very long extended break in July and August, whereas other school systems will have breaks interspersed throughout the year more frequently, so that students who are struggling can use that time, which is more frequently given, to catch up on work that they're struggling with. Or, on the other hand, students who are accelerated can use that time for enrichment opportunities that they might not otherwise have gotten in a regular traditional school calendar. We don't typically have this issue in East Islip, but it does talk about how, in the last paragraph on the first page, reduces overcrowding. There are some schools where classes are very large, halls are very crowded, because there are so many students that attend. And the argument for, for changing the way the calendar is that you can have students who are running on different schedules to reduce crowding and to alleviate class size, which is another reason why this author says that summer vacation is outdated and needs to be refined. On the next page, there's this subject heading in American tradition, and you'll see I use yellow now because on this page, the author of this article was giving you the other side, the counter argument, which is that summer is important and that we need to keep our system set up the way it is, where we do have those 2 months of July and August. And one of the counter arguments there is that it would be too expensive to keep schools open year round. You'd have to factor in air conditioning costs. You'd have to factor in busing, teachers' salaries. And so that's one reason why, critics of year-round schooling say it's just not going to work for us. Another argument here is that people think that summer vacation is an American tradition. We've always had it, and that time is very valuable. It's valuable for students because they have time that they spend with their families, they get to relax, and they really get to kind of just cool down from the stress of the school year. Another example of an argument why summer should be kept is that there are many experiences that occur over the summer that some people argue are more valuable than school, like attending summer camps or getting a job and learning responsibility or participating in an enrichment program or traveling with your family. And if summer vacation were taken away, some might argue that those experiences can't happen. The author does go back then in the last paragraph to, to kind of give you a couple more reasons or, to kind of sum up again why summer vacation is so outdated. And so basically, it just ends by the author saying that times have changed. Nothing is the same as it was 100 years ago. Why should our school calendar be the same? It has to modify and it has to adapt and it has to change with the times. And so that's really the argument against summer vacation. So this article is expository because it does give you both sides of the argument. The author is not biased. The author is not trying to convince you of one side versus the other. The author is just trying to give you both, which is what makes it expository, and then you decide. The graphic organizer that you were asked to complete just asks you to pull out those arguments, which I've just gone over with you. And so for the question or the topic or the issue, I just wrote, is summer vacation outdated? Should schools shift to year-round schooling? That's really the topic that this article addresses. And then I summed up the exact points that I just went over. What were the yes reasons? And I just quoted. So one of the reasons why summer vacation is outdated, I have most students don't need as much review when they return. That was that whole, they call it the summer slide, which is probably the number one reason why people feel that we should get rid of summer, because there is a tremendous amount of learning loss that happens in those 2 months. The intersession classes, and then I dotted that. They can use them to get extra help in difficult subjects, which was another reason why some people feel the year-round schooling is a better idea. And then lastly, at the bottom, trying to get this in here, is that for many, summer days are spent playing video games, watching TV. This was something I had forgotten to bring up when I went over the article. But this was another argument why summer vacation is outdated. Back in like the 50s, mothers were home and they were available to their children during the day. But now with the increased role of women in the workforce, a lot of times you have children who are spending their summer vacations in front of the TV because, their parents are working, and the article argues that the income gap becomes very apparent here because families who do have the ability will send their children to camps and other enriching experiences, whereas parents who don't have the financial means, what does that mean for their children? They often spend their summer vacations kind of hanging around, not really doing anything productive. On the other side now, these were the no arguments. These are why summer vacation should be kept the way it is. It's not outdated. And so I had that critics worry about the expense, which was something that was brought up. I had highlighted it in yellow. It's going to be more expensive to keep the schools open. The other argument was that emotional appeal, that it's a time for families to reconnect. And if you take summer vacation away, then they won't have that time as a family anymore. And then lastly, I quoted the line about summer experiences like camp, visiting museums, and traveling are just as enriching as school. And that's another argument why children need summer vacation. And it's because they need that time to kind of explore their own interests, which many would argue is more valuable than time spent in the classroom. At the bottom, that box varies now that you have all the information. And of course, all of you do have a bias because this would directly affect you if we went to a year-round schooling system. And so, you can't ignore that bias as students yourselves. I'm sure your parents have a bias as well, because they have children who are school age, and this decision would affect them. It would affect their ability to take trips, and it would affect the way that their calendar would operate if we switched to a year-round schedule. So that's it for that first article, Is Summer Vacation Bad for You?, which was the expository piece.